Hi, welcome to the sixth part of the lecture Family, Reproduction and Gender of the Marxian Economics course. In this course, we actually look to what extent Marxian model of exploitation can be applied to the relations in the household between men and women especially. And then we will also briefly discuss how the relations within the households might maybe affect the relations outside of the household for the within the sphere of production, organized by capital. As a starting point, actually, these are some questions to ask. When can we say a wife is technically exploited by the husband? Technically, what is the case of exploitation? But how can this technical case be realized in real life is the second question. And the third question might be whether how can the exploitation inside of the household, if it exists, might actually affect the production relations, as I have told before, outside of the household. So we might actually create this type of analysis at first, where we kind of have different spheres of water production. First, we have sphere of capitalists, and within this sphere, we have our worker working in a capitalist company. He adds value to the products, which are inputs, which are named as constant capital C, which had the word 5 labor hour, and then our worker works for 10 hours. But that part of the value created in these 10 hours, 5 labor hour, is given to the worker himself, and the other part is taken out of by the capitalist as surplus value. And our worker gets his income, which might be, for example, if he works for a minimum wage, let's say 2,000 Turkish lira, to the home. And with this money, he might, or his wife might, buy inputs for the household production. So these inputs become C, and basically, the husband is bringing this C to the house. Well, from the perspective of the capitalist, this C is worth 5 labor hour. It is worth 5 labor hour labor power of our worker. But when we are looking from the perspective of the household, our worker has spent 10 labor hours to bring this C to the house. So from the household's perspective, this C is worth 10 labor hours. As spheres change, the value of the income that is brought to the household will change, of course. And now we might assume that the wife in this case is working 10 labor hours. Part of the value created in this 10 labor hours is taken by the wife. The wife might be spending, consuming what is produced by herself, and part of it is taken by the husband, basically. So the extra value created. So in the end, we might say we have a 20 labor hour worth of output, and this 20 labor hour worth of output is shared by husband and wife, basically. Of course, here one difficulty we might have is actually also how do we replace this 10 labor hour, basically. In of course the capitalist perspective, the 10 labor hour is replaced after you sell what is being produced by the household, and basically it enters as after the capitalists sell what is being produced, part of that money is used to buy new inputs for the production. But now, of course, after each consumption level, basically the household will, the husband in this case will need to work again to bring the income, the inputs for the household production back to the household. So in a way, this model has difficulties. If you want to apply the model exactly to the household, it has difficulties. And the difficulty comes from the fact that you need, in order to get C, you always need to work. You always need to work to get C. So instead of, if we really want to force this model into the household, in that case, we might start with this point. We might assume that with C and V, C is brought by the husband, V is brought by the, is spent by the wife, and basically, when both of them spend 10 labor hours, then you might have a product that is worth 20 labor hours, and this 20 labor hour of product might be just enough for reproduction of wife and husband. So in order to have a reproduction, both husband and wife might need to work 10 labor hours in that case. Alternatively, so in this case, actually, there is no exploitation because all of them both work for 10 labor hour, and they got what is equal for what is equal of their work. So in a way, the husband's work has created value of C, which is brought to the household from outside work. But so from a household perspective, it's C, but the husband has still worked for it, and the wife's work has created V, the labor that is spent inside of the household. So both have worked and both get something in return, one inside, one outside of the household. Well, we might have, let's say, however, we have, for example, let's keep this 10, and let's add now surplus value to this, or surplus product to this. So now we have, so we might assume that when the husband is bringing 10 labor hour worth of inputs to the household and wife works for 10 labor hour, in return we have 15 labor hour worth of output, which is necessary for the reproduction of the labor power of husband and wife, which they might separate 75 to 75. Maybe because the productivity has increased, so the same amount of output for which they needed first 20 labor hours can be produced now in when husband works 10 labor hour and wife works for 5 labor hours. So in the next 5 labor hours, surplus output is produced. So now the question will become, how will they distribute this surplus? If the surplus will be distributed proportional to the amount the husband and wife worked, both have worked 10 labor hours in this case, so they should be separating it half by half. In that case, we might say there is no exploitation. But if the husband gets more than wife, basically out of this surplus value, surplus product, in that case, husband might be exploiting wife, and the reverse can also be true. The wife can also exploit husband if he gets more surplus product. Note that this is not possible in the capitalist perspective. The capitalist can never be exploited by the worker because he doesn't contribute anyway to create value. So, if alternatively, if they share the surplus output equally, but if we have husband working less than the wife, in that case, still wife gets exploited. Of course, inside of the household, we also have power relations. So we have things like the public goods. For example, you watch TV, husband and wife together watch the TV, but who decides what to watch? Who decides where to go to holiday? So basically, this making decisions on the goods that are commonly consumed is also part of the household. And there we have something beyond the basic exploitation defined by Marx in place. So this basic exploitation relation certainly cannot catch everything inside of the household. While inside of the company, of course, the capitalist decides all the rules, everything else. But from the worker's perspective, you sell your work, and you don't spend time for consumption basically inside of the workplace. So from the Marxian perspective, the time you spend your workplace is just to get your wage and then go home. So only in your home basically. You care more on how you spend your time or how pleasant it is to be in the place you are. But in home, this is not anymore true. And this part is not, you cannot capture it with the Marxian model. But at least with the basic, at least looking to the basic relations, we might assume, well, at least from distribution perspective, we might make maybe a rough definition on when wife gets exploited and when husband gets exploited in this case. But let's try to also apply the other aspect of exploitation in Marxian economics, namely why is in which case we might have the conditions for exploitation. Well, technically, we have defined that can be exploitation inside of the household in rough sense. We have applied the terminology taken from another sphere. But in which case, we might say there can be an exploitation. Well, one thing was the labor should be free in double sense. It should be free to choose the workplace to have capitalist type of case. And the second thing was the workers' labor power should be worthless unless he or she would work for the capitalists. So in that sense, the wife's labor power should be worthless unless she is married to a man. But the other way around should not be true. I mean, it should be possible for the man to stay single, but for the woman, when they stay single, their life should be very difficult. Their labor power should be worthless unless she is brought back by their husband to the. I mean, the inputs are brought by the husbands to the household. And in addition to that, of course, if we also apply the reserve army idea, I mean, in order to have a persistent exploitation, you still have a reserve army of labor power, and that one of the functions of the reserve army of the labor power was when you are quit a job, it's difficult for you to find a new job. So if you apply this to the household, if it is difficult for the woman to find a new husband, if she divorces, then again, and if the reverse is not true, then again, conditions of exploitation inside of the household might exist. Again, the application has difficulties, but there are a numerous, significant number of economists who call themselves feminist economists, who actually have kind of work on potential applications. And here I have just gone a little bit on it, but if you're interested, you can look to the literature on this. Next, I will actually discuss how the potential exploitation inside of the household might actually affect the workplace relation and the relation between capitalists and labor, basically. But we will see this in the next time because we are very close to the 15-minute mark. So see you in the next part.